Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News at 9, coming to you live from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. I'm Stephanie Lazarus and here are your headlines. What is happening to Sri Lanka today could happen to any country of the non-aligned movement tomorrow. A statement by Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe in Geneva. Group of street performers attached to the JVP attacked, 8 persons hospitalized. Postal voting takes place in a calm manner, says the Elections Commissioner. More theories surfaces surrounding the disappearance of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Let's now cross over to our main news desk for a more comprehensive look at these stories.
Well, thank you very much, Stephanie. Well, I'm Shahan Jurangpal. A very good evening to you.
And I'm Arundhati Mudannayak. We'll start off with a look at your local news. An elephant calf was being kept illegally was found when wildlife officials conducted a raid in the Arabwala area in Kottawa. After receiving a tip-off about a wounded elephant calf, officials of the raid unit of the Wildlife Department inspected the premises down 2nd Lane in Gavanu Road in Arabwala at around 2:30 in the afternoon. The Director General of the Wildlife Department stated that they inspected the premises to ascertain if there was a license for the baby elephant. However, the wildlife officials were unable to provide information to the media after inspecting the premises till 5:30 in the evening. The media personnel who arrived at the scene to cover the story while the inspections were taking place were attacked. The baby elephant would be taken into the custody of wildlife officials if they are unable to find a license. If so, this would be the second calf taken into custody within 3 weeks.
Welcome back to the news and headline making story this evening. According to Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya, casting of postal votes for the upcoming provincial council polls concluded for the day in a peaceful manner. Postal votes were casted over 4,000 postal voting stations throughout the day today. 112,320 government sector employees were deemed eligible for postal voting privileges. Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya added that necessary steps have been taken to allow state employees to cast postal votes during working hours tomorrow as well.
A clash broke out in Panadura this afternoon between a group of street performers from the Socialist Arts Association, which is attached to the JVP, and another group. The clash had broken out during the final scene of the election propaganda street drama that was being performed at the Panadura private bus stand.
8 persons from the performance troupe, including 2 females, were injured in the assault. They charged that a group at the bus stand assaulted them during the latter part of their performance.
When our performance was over, they threatened us and chased us away. We can only assume that they were drivers and conductors from the attire that they were wearing. There were timekeepers among them. On the 10th, leader of the party, Comrade Anurakumara Dissanayaka, addressed a massive rally over here. Government thugs who are enraged by this are the ones who carried out this assault. The anti-government trend is on the rise. Thugs who cannot face this are the ones who are carrying out such attacks.
According to the police, both parties have filed complaints with the Panadura police regarding the incidents. Meanwhile, it was reported that a group that arrived in a white van had attacked 2 elections officers of the JVP in the Surivava and Mihgajaduru areas in Hambantota. It is also reported that both officers were attacked by a group that arrived in the same van bearing the same number plates.
Around 6 or 7 persons arrived in a full tinted van bearing the numbers 57-6798 and attacked the office. They also attacked the office in the Mihgajaduru area.
I heard a loud noise. When I looked, they were causing damage to the office. I wrote down the number plate of the van, 57-6798. Then they went away later and said they were from Colombo.
Secretaries of political parties and representatives called on the Elections Commissioner today at the Elections Secretariat to discuss a wide range of topics.
We arrived here to seek some advice from the Elections Commissioner. There were no reports of violence from our district. Everything is peaceful. There isn't hype ahead of the elections.
The JVP forwarded the complaint to the Elections Commissioner. The government has organized processions and a program to seek signatures for a petition for a period of 10 days in the districts where the elections will be held. It will commence tomorrow from Tangol. The Elections Commissioner agreed that this is illegal and he will put a stop to it.
The UPFA or its affiliated parties have not in any way organized any procession. The alliance does not need to seek signatures for petitions. Today is the 13th. There are 12 more days for the elections. We have advised our candidates to refrain from violating election laws.
We are contesting from the Colombo and Gampa district. There is a small operation in place to sabotage this and cause fear amongst the Tamil people. The Tamil people need not fear.
Special Envoy of the President on Human Rights, Minister Mahinda Samarsinghe, says Sri Lanka's opposition to the resolution on Sri Lanka was a fight on a matter of principle and that Sri Lanka would not compromise on it. Minister Samarsinghe made these observations when he addressed the permanent representatives and delegates of the cross-regional non-aligned group in Geneva on the sidelines of the 25th session of the Human Rights Council today.
Minister Mahinda Samarsinghe had noted that what is happening to Sri Lanka today could happen to any other non-alignment movement country tomorrow. He explained that Sri Lanka over the years was a country that had continued to engage with the international community and needed no resolutions encouraging it to do so. Underlining the commitment of the government of Sri Lanka to achieve comprehensive reconciliation, the Special Envoy of the President stated that Sri Lanka was requesting the cooperation of the international community, especially the Western nations, to achieve this end. The minister says that while Sri Lanka has continued to demonstrate its cooperation with the UN and the international community through its bilateral and multilateral engagements, it was disappointing to note that the country had been singled out through this resolution. Minister Mahinda Samarsinghe added that the country has its own domestic mechanisms to reach reconciliation and has continued to show progress and constructive engagement. Minister Samarsinghe, together with Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva, are due to address the African group as well as the group of Organization of Islamic Countries next week. Well, a new theory has emerged that the missing Malaysian Airlines plane MH370 may have flown on for 4 hours beyond its last reported sighting, adding a new twist to a saga of conflicting details and misinformation in the still fruitless search for the plane. Now, engine maker Rolls-Royce has issued a statement that it will carry out an independent probe. Now, meanwhile, Malaysian Defence Minister denied reports that engine data from the jetline showed that it may have kept flying. China heaped pressure on Malaysia to improve its coordination over the search for the Boeing 777, which disappeared early on Saturday on a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. China has dispatched multiple aircraft, ships and satellites in the multinational search mission. Chinese Premier Li demanded that the relevant parties set up coordination, while China's civil aviation chief said he wanted a smoother flow of information from Malaysia, which has come under heavy criticism for its handling of the disaster.
There are 239 people aboard the missing Malaysian Airlines plane, among them whom are 154 Chinese compatriots. Those people's families and friends are burning with anxiety. The Chinese government and millions of Chinese people are deeply concerned about their safety. We are all eagerly waiting for the news of the plane, even a tiny piece of good news. We are doing our best to identify the suspicious dots spotted by satellite images.
Satellite images of possible debris from the missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 have been released on a Chinese government website, which the Malaysian Transport Minister says was a mistake. The three images show what appear to be large floating objects in the South China Sea. Previous sightings of possible debris have proved fruitless. Vietnam and Malaysia have sent planes to the area to investigate. The images were taken on Sunday, a day after the plane disappeared, but were only released yesterday on the website of China's State Administration for Science. China's Civil Aviation Chief Li Zhijiang said, quote, Chinese satellites have found smoke and floating objects. At present, we cannot confirm this is related to the missing aircraft, unquote. We are now joined by Chalu Kevirakon for more on the developments surrounding the missing Malaysian Airlines plane.
Malaysian authorities have denied a media report that missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 continued flying for several hours after it last made contact, and says satellite photos released by the Chinese agency do not show any debris. Malaysian Transport Minister Hizamuddin Hussein used a press conference to debunk earlier reports in the Wall Street Journal, which cited two security sources saying that the plane would have flown 4 hours longer than initially thought. Search teams have been scouring a vast area of ocean around the Malay Peninsula where the plane disappeared en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, with 239 people on board, including 6 Australians. This is Chalu Kevirakon for Newsfirst, reporting from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Meanwhile, American aviation chiefs warned 6 months ago that a kind of Boeing jet similar to the Malaysian Airlines plane that has gone missing was vulnerable to a mid-air breakup. As searchers headed for a possible crash site for flight MH370, it emerged that the US Federation Aviation Authority ordered airlines to fix a potentially fatal flaw in Boeing 777 jets. The FAA reportedly warned the planes could break apart and suffer a drastic loss in cabin pressure because of cracks in the fuselage. In an airworthiness directive dated September 18th last year, airlines were given until the 9th of April this year to detect and correct cracking of corrosion in the fuselage skin beneath the airliner's communications antenna. The FAA said the failure to fix the flaw could put the aircraft at risk of a rapid decompression and loss of structural integrity of the airplane. Experts were speculating last night that a failure to correct the flaw could possibly be behind the plane's disappearance with 239 people on board. Analysts suggested that if the plane had lost pressure, the pilots may have become disoriented and possibly fly off course, leading to the confusion over its whereabouts. India's foreign ministry said yesterday that Malaysia has now asked India for help in tracing the Malaysian jetliner, as the search expanded to cover an area stretching from China to the Andaman Sea. The search for the missing Malaysia Airlines plane has now widened to cover a swath of Southeast Asia, from the South China Sea to India's territorial waters, with authorities no closer to explaining what happened to the plane or the 239 people on board. The spokesperson of India's foreign ministry, Syed Akbaruddin, said help would be provided to Malaysia and to the families of Indian nationals on board the plane. Desperate families of Chinese passengers aboard the missing Malaysia Airlines flight also expressed their anger over lack of information about their loved ones and lack of support from the Chinese government.
Right now, I really want to speak with President Xi. I don't know what could be more important than the lives of more than 200 people. I also want to ask Xi's wife, if that was your President Xi on the plane, how would you feel? How would your parents feel about this right now? And you also have a child, as do we, and we parents are waiting anxiously.
Right now, we are going to collect all legal articles. We are definitely going to sue them. This is really bad. We are not suing the Malaysian Airlines, but the Malaysian government.
It is now clear that authorities are left with more questions and less answers. Newsfirst is on alert.
Meanwhile, issuing a statement on its website, Malaysian Airlines says that as a mark of respect to the passengers and crew of MH370 on the 8th of March 2014, the MH370 and MH371 flight codes will be retired from the Malaysian Airlines Kuala Lumpur, Beijing and back to Kuala Lumpur route. The new flight codes replacing the retired codes will be MH318 and MH319.
Two Sri Lankans who sustained injuries following a bus accident that occurred on the Yamuna Expressway in India are being treated at present. The accident occurred when a bus carrying Sri Lankan passengers collided with a truck. The organizer of the pilgrimage said that a bus plying from Delhi to Agra had met with the accident.
Delhi in the last kilometer 6 part during business.
The driver is not injured. I was seated on the side of the driver and I have sustained injuries to my face. An old lady behind me bumped into my seat and her head had split as a result. 5 other persons suffered injuries as well. Only 2 of us are in hospital, while 5 others who had sustained injuries took off to Agra after being treated. No one sustained grave injuries. My mother and I hope to arrive in Sri Lanka in around 3 days. Prasad Karivasan, Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to India, noted that 6 of the 87 injured in the accident have been discharged from hospital. The pilgrims had not sustained any fatal injuries. Only the organizer and an old lady had sustained injuries. Officials from the embassy had visited the facility housing the injured and provided the environment to facilitate their treatment. There is no problem.
Sri Lanka will host the next International Conference of Asian Political Parties, or ICAP. The preparations were finalized when the Secretary General of the ICAP Standing Committee, Mr. Chung Yu-yong, met President Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees this afternoon.
According to the Presidential Media Unit, the International Conference of Asian Political Parties will be hosted by Sri Lanka from the 18th of September to the 21st of September. As host, Sri Lanka was requested to select the main theme of the conference, which was decided to be Building an Asian Community. Let's now have a look at some of the views expressed on the election stage.
The elections on the 29th is a legal one. The head of this poll is the Elections Commissioner. There is no election on the 28th here, but a vote on Sri Lanka will take place. Through this vote, Navi Pillai, we use the powers of the United Nations and the Western countries and attempt to divide the country.
These are all lies. There is a war crimes tribunal in reality, that is in The Hague. Conventions adopted by the United Nations will affect the countries that have signed these conventions. We have not agreed to them. Therefore, no one can take us to The Hague. Even Iraq had not agreed to this. The USA has also not signed this. Iraq's Saddam Hussein was charged with war crimes. Was he taken to the war crimes tribunal?
Is it the beetle leaf or the electric chair? That does not matter. The lives of the people have gone backwards. They have created a state of hunger.
Day by day, the opposition is breaking away into pieces. There is no sound of the UNP from the Kalani electorate. There are posters here and there. The opposition has no voice. They cannot create a voice against the government. How are they going to ask for the votes of the people?
Vessels do not arrive at the harbour because it does not have the required depth. A simple Chinese person would go there for fishing. An airport was constructed. That is the only airport that was constructed in a forest reserve. But flights do not arrive there. These are the people's money. $500 million was spent on the harbour and another $300 million on the airport. They are wasting the people's money.
Western Provincial Council candidate of the Democratic Party, Susil Kindelpitiya, says that instead of making false promises, if policies are truly implemented, Sri Lanka could be a country devoid of thievery and corruption. Now, he expressed these views at a workshop held in Kulanawa today.
A workshop was organised to inform the election representatives of the Kulanawa electorate. The workshop was organised by Democratic Party organiser of the Kulanawa electorate, Susil Kindelpitiya.
What I want is a country where policies are implemented instead of a country where false promises are made. If policies are in fact implemented, then this country will be free of thievery and corruption. I would actually like to be the minister in charge of the police force, the police and the prisons. Do you know why? Because if I meet the police, then I can teach them how to implement the law so that justice will prevail. I have faced injustice myself. I joined with the general because I want to continue this journey with an individual who has a backbone. Because we need a leader who loves this country more than anything else.
UPFA Gampa district candidate for the Western Provincial Council, Susara Dinal, addressing a public rally yesterday, said that the Provincial Council poll is the ideal opportunity to introduce suitable persons into politics. The public rally took place yesterday in Boruggamua in Pallewala, Mirigama. When job opportunities are being created in Colombo, we need to train the youth for those jobs. We need to have a vision to provide the youth of Gampa with the job opportunities that are being created in the private sector. This provincial council is really important. Why? Because this is the ideal opportunity to introduce suitable persons into politics.
Parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa says that all benefits of government servants have been slashed by this government. He made this statement during a public rally held yesterday.
A public rally was held in the Kirina area in Tissamaharama yesterday under the auspices of Parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa. This government uses beautiful words such as "we will protect government servants." I can responsibly state that all benefits granted to public servants have been slashed. During the election campaigns, they said that they would raise the salaries, but they have only increased allowances. That means it does not affect your pension. Gratuity payments granted to public servants have been slashed. They have completely gotten rid of it. When government servants retire, they are treated differently. On to other local news, one person was injured following the collision of 4 vehicles in the Valikada area along Parliament Road. The police said that initially a van collided with a motorcycle, following which another van and a motorbike had collided. Our correspondents reported heavy traffic in the area this evening following the accident. The motorcycle rider was injured and subsequently hospitalized following the accident. The police reported that the victim is a delivery man for a private food chain.
Welcome back. You're with News First, and up next is a look at Action TV.
The Colombo Municipal Council obtained concessionary loans from the World Bank to beautify the Colombo city. These loans are to be repaid using public tax money. However, if one takes a stroll around the city, it is questionable whether the whole of Colombo has been treated in an equal manner when the beautification process was adopted. Areas such as Motuwal, Matakulia and Grand Pass are peripheries that fall within the limits of the Colombo Municipal Council. Though area residents in these areas pay taxes to the CMC, the support rendered by the CMC when it comes to sanitation is not at a satisfactory and qualitative level. Areas such as Colombo 7 and Colombo 3 are termed as where the high-class society resides. Bus stands that provide shelter to the public in these areas were constructed in a very colourful and attractive manner. The construction of bus stands and shelters in other areas that fall under the purview of the CMC have been neglected. However, public transportation operates through these areas as well, and these services are used by the general public. Thereby, shelters were constructed at the Totalanga and Ingurukade junction by Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayaka using money from the decentralised fund allocated to parliamentarians. A letter dated the 6th of March written by the CMC engineer to the manager of the Passenger Transport Authority proves that the parliamentarian followed the correct procedure when constructing these shelters. However, this letter states that the shelters constructed by the Passenger Transport Authority are illegal constructions. These two locations have been termed as bus stops for the public by the Police Motor Traffic Division and the Road Development Authority. Every citizen has a right to seek shelter at such a construction during rain and shine at any given time. The Western Province Passenger Transport Authority has established this right by undertaking the construction. In addition, there is no obstacle preventing Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayaka acting in the capacity of a public representative to undertake such a task through the decentralized fund. In such a backdrop, it is questionable as to why the engineer instructs the Passenger Transport Authority to remove these constructions, especially after a significant amount of time had already lapsed. Shouldn't the public's right to shelter be established by looking into this issue and determine if this was prompted by narrow political thinking? Mayor of Colombo, this is over to you.
Yet another phase of Newsfirst media workshops was held in Valimada today.
The 121st Newsfirst Media Workshop was held at the Madhavela Mahavidyalaya in Badulla. The Newsfirst team was able to provide students with knowledge on news reporting as well as activities of a newsroom. Students eagerly participated in the workshop, which incorporated theoretical knowledge and practical activities. Students were also made aware about new media trends and were given the opportunity to display their talents at the workshop. I think this is a special opportunity for the students here at the Madhavela Mahavidyalaya. It is also a special experience. They will be able to hone their talents in media and have a better future.
This was a really useful workshop for us to understand media. Although we watch the news, we don't realize what goes on behind the scenes. So this was very useful to understand that.
Taking a look at business news this evening, steps have been taken to reduce highway bus fares. The Highway Bus Services Association said that thereby the price of a ticket on a bus travelling from Kottawa to Galle will be reduced from 500 rupees to 520 or rather 420 rupees.
The chairman of the Highway Bus Services Association, L.A. Vimalarathan, told Newsfirst that the fare for a bus travelling from Kottawa to Galle has been reduced to 420 rupees. He also said that the same price will be charged for passengers travelling from Kaduela to Galle. Meanwhile, buses will operate from Kaduela to Mathura following the opening of the Galle-Mathura intersection on the expressway from the 15th of this month. The price of a ticket from Kaduela to Mathura will be at 500 rupees.
New reporters Vijay Singh Valikanda from Kurunagala and A. Premasari from Hambantota filed these reports.
An accident involving two lorries occurred on the Narammala Kulyapattu road in Horambawa at around 6 this morning. The accident occurred when a lorry plying towards Narammala rear-ended another lorry. 3 individuals who were travelling in the lorry were admitted to the Kulyapattu hospital as they had sustained severe injuries. The Narammala police has launched further investigations into the accident. An accident occurred on the Hambantota Ratanagalla road in Mirisavella at around 6:30 this evening. The bus, which was plying from Markandara, had met with the accident. The accident occurred when the bus had veered off the road. No casualties were reported in the accident.
On to sports news, Sri Lanka Cricket announced today that as a gesture of goodwill, the Sri Lankan cricket team would receive a special bonus of $100,000 for winning the Asia Cup. The decision was taken after a meeting of the Sri Lanka Cricket Executive Committee, which focused mainly on player contracts. In addition, the Sri Lanka cricket team will receive a sum of $500,000 if they emerge as champions of the ICC World T20 tournament in Bangladesh, in addition to their participating fee of $500,000.
The 135th Battle of the Blues, the big match encounter between St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia and Royal College, Colombo, commenced at the SSC grounds in Colombo today.
The gold coin that is used as a toss for the Battle of the Blues was brought to the SCC ground by a parachuter. Winning the toss, skipper of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, invited the Royalists to bat first.
Perfect landing.
The Royalists' opening stand was restricted to 2 runs as Shami the Dias was sent back for just 1 run. Shiran Panditaratne contributed with 25 runs. The Thomians managed to bag 8 Royal scalps within 59 runs. However, Thilan Dhanapala and Harit Samarasinghe put on a 96-run stand for the 9th wicket. Thilan Dhanapala scored 46 runs while Harit Samarasinghe contributed with 50 runs. Royal College Colombo posted a first innings score of 158 runs all out in 50.2 overs. Sahan Vijay Singh bagged 54 wickets for 46 runs for St. Thomas's College, while Abdul Qadir bagged 3 for 37. St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia, who commenced their chase, lost opener Rashmika Opatha for 21 runs. Johan Mendes chipped in with 29 runs before being undone by Chamika Karnaratna. At stumps today, St. Thomas's College were on 134 runs for the loss of 3 wickets, with Sanesh Dimel unbeaten on 40.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka.
And I'm Shahan Jurampati. Good night and take care.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.